I love checking to see how many times different things are in the Bible, like the word Thanksgiving. That is a great one. I know that it is the time where we give thanks. We talked last week about the one leper going back and thanking Jesus, and we realized how important it is to make sure we're telling people thank you and that we are thankful as well. Okay, so as this week continues on, I know you'll be thinking about that a lot since it is Thanksgiving, of course. But we do have a great story for y'all today, okay? And I wanted to bring that up to you. Just so you know, the story is actually in multiple places in the Bible, but the version that we're going to use is from John chapter 11. But there's an account of this in multiple chapters. But this one we're looking at is John chapter 11, and it's going to be verse 1 through 44. But obviously, we're going to compact that up a little for you guys, a little shortened version. And then after, we're going to take a little quiz. You're going to take a little quiz on it, a little fun video quiz, and see what you remember from the story. Okay, so make sure you're paying attention. All right, so we got three characters in our story today: Mary, Martha, and Lazarus. Now, Lazarus was a friend of Jesus, and Mary and Martha were his sisters. Okay? So Mary and Martha sent Jesus a message that said, Lord, the one you love is sick. So their brother, he was sick. Now, Jesus did not go to Lazarus right away. Okay? He said, this sickness will not end in death. It will be for the glory of God. And Jesus stayed where he was for 2 days. Now, at the end of the 2 days, Jesus said, let's go ahead and go to Judea. Now, the disciples, though, were worried. They said, the Jews tried to stone you. You're going to go there again? So obviously, when they were in there before, this was not a good situation. Jesus was basically almost killed there. They were going to kill him by stoning him. So the disciples were like, this isn't a good idea. Now, Jesus told them, listen real close because this is wild stuff. He says, Lazarus is dead. I'm glad I wasn't there so that you may believe. Let us go to him. So that's kind of some different stuff. He says, someone's dead. Glad I wasn't there so you can believe. Let's go to him. So he's basically saying, I want you to understand that he's dead right now. Okay? Now, by the time Jesus arrived, Lazarus' body had been in a tomb for 4 days. So, just so you know, you've probably never really been around dead bodies a lot. Most of us haven't. But what happens is the bodies, after a little while, start to stink, start to smell, and it's kind of gross. Okay? So, but Lazarus has been dead 4 days at this point. Okay? So he's been in a tomb, which is, back then, that's a place where they would put people once they died in a tomb. Okay? Inside, roll the stone, cover it up. That way it doesn't stink for everybody. It's okay. So, when Martha heard that Jesus was approaching or coming, she went out and she met him. But Mary stayed at home. Martha said to Jesus, she said, Lord, if you have been here, my brother would not have died. Now remember earlier, Jesus said to the disciples, it's good that I wasn't there, okay? Because Martha said, look, if you were here, we know you're a great healer, we know you're a great physician, he wouldn't have even died. So she was probably a little upset with Jesus at the time. And then Jesus answered, and he told her this. He said, your brother will rise again. I am the resurrection and the life. Everyone who believes in me will never die ever. You believe this, Martha? So Martha replied, I believe that you are Christ, the Son of God. So when Mary saw Jesus, she fell at his feet and she was weeping and saying to him, Lord, if you had been here, my brother would not have died. And then when Jesus saw Mary crying, this is now the second person who's told him this, he was moved in his spirit. He also wept and started crying. And then the people could see how much Jesus loved family. Okay, so people that were around said, man, he really feels for these folks. He's crying, he's upset. So Jesus went to the tomb where Lazarus' body had been buried. Jesus commanded that the stone in front of the tomb be taken away. And then he lifted up his eyes and he prayed. He said, Father, thank you for hearing me. May the people believe you sent me. And then Jesus shouted, Lazarus, come out. And at this point, Lazarus walked out of the tomb, still wrapped up in his grave clothes. And Jesus said, untie the grave clothes and let him go. So, only two people in God's word raised from the dead, Lazarus, Jesus. Okay? And so what we want to understand and what we're kind of thinking about today is that families can trust Jesus together. Okay? It's important that we understand that Mary and Martha in the story, they did trust Jesus. And Jesus has powers that are a lot better, obviously, than our powers. So they put their trust in him. And that's really one of the most amazing miracles he did. If you go back and think about all the things Jesus did, he literally rose someone that had died in the tomb for 4 days, not 3 days, 4 days. And he rose them from the dead. Now, I want you to think about some of this a little bit more. And part of that is why would he say that he was glad that he wasn't there when he died and that he wanted them to know that? And I think one of the reasons is he wanted them to understand that he had the power to raise Lazarus from the dead, even though he was already physically dead. Okay? And so, of course, when we look at that, he wants people to trust him. And, as Jesus went around and did ministry on earth, there were a lot of times that as people saw things, they were amazed and then they believed. So trusting him is ultimately what we want to do as a Christ follower, and to put our trust in him. And when we put our trust in him, that means that we understand Jesus came here to earth for us, that we understand that we have sin in our life, that we understand that we ask God to forgive that sin. And then the last part of salvation, or for us to have a relationship with God, is to put our trust in Jesus. Okay? And so if you've been thinking about putting your trust in Jesus and saying, you know what, I want to live my life for you, then that's a great time to talk with your parents about that. Y'all can give me a call. I'd love to talk with you about that. And we can talk about what it means to be a Christ follower and put our trust in Jesus. Okay? So, I did promise you a Lazarus quiz. And so we got a fun little quiz here to finish off with. After that quiz, we're going to do our little memory verse song that helps us to remember that memory verse that we've been looking over, which is Romans 12:10. And the version we're looking at says it like this. It says, love one another deeply as brothers and sisters. Outdo one another in showing honor. So remember, we've talked about honor, we've talked about love, we've talked about outdoing that and making sure that we show our family all those things. But today, we're focusing on trusting God. I hope y'all have a great Thanksgiving week, and I hope you join us for Brick House. We'll see you next week.
evil. Hold fast to what is good. Hold fast to what is good. Love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor, showing honor. Let love between you and abhor what is evil. Hold fast to what is good. Hold fast to what is good. Yeah, love one another with brotherly affection. Outdo one another in showing honor, showing honor. Love between you and, yeah. Hey, here we go. Let love between you and aboard evil. Hold fast to what is good. Hold fast to what is good.